The heart under scrutiny, revelation, reason, and the interior axis of human understanding.
A lantern in the breast reveals the heart's hidden chambers, pulse by pulse, breath by breath. Here, each word becomes a mirror of the soul, each page a fragrance of eternity. This reflection is drawn from the book The Heart by Muhammad Atollah Faizani, a thinker of the inner sciences and the hidden architecture of the human being.
The heart under scrutiny, revelation, reason, and the interior axis of human understanding. A contemporary reflection on the heart's mysteries. Across civilizations and centuries, human beings have wrestled with the same enduring questions. Where does understanding truly arise? What governs intention and responsibility? Is the human being merely a biological system, or is there an inner center that shapes meaning, direction, and destiny? Concerning the interpretations of certain critics of spiritual tradition regarding verses that speak of the mysteries and hidden perfections of the heart, it has been evident from the earliest days of revelation until today that seekers are called to remain steadfast, discerning, and prepared in the face of challenges to their conviction. This preparedness is not accidental. It is an ethical and intellectual responsibility that accompanies any sincere search for truth, regardless of culture or creed. Beyond the verses that speak of striving in God's path, notice the majestic simplicity of this command. Equip yourselves with whatever means you can. This preparation is not confined to instruments of defense or struggle. It embraces the fullness of human readiness, in knowledge, in science, in culture, in creativity, and in the vast horizons of innovation. It is a call to intellectual vigilance as much as moral steadiness, a summons relevant to every age, shaped by competing claims to truth. Since the Quran explicitly emphasizes such preparedness, it is all the more urgent in our time that we engage with the questions and objections of critics, including those who interpret verses with a shallow eye. We must meet them, not with rage, but with calm, not with prejudice, but with clarity. Our answers must be grounded in reason, adorned with insight, and lifted by discernment, so that they may guide both the critics and those among the community of devotion who waver in understanding. Even more, let us show gratitude to the Lord of Majesty, bowing our hearts in humility before his infinite compassion, so that the effort to clarify truth does not itself become a veil of pride, and so that our words may be accepted in the court of his grace. For many years, the objections of critics echoed around me, phrases raised in every place and age, yet no answer I found brought illumination. At times, despair darkened my spirit. These objections were not foreign voices. They mirrored questions that arise wherever inherited wisdom encounters modern explanation. Then, by the unbounded generosity of the Almighty, a door was opened, and the keys of a treasury were entrusted into these unworthy hands. What I could grasp, I shaped into words with his assistance. You now encounter it, lesson by lesson, as a study of the human being, not in its biological form, but in its spiritual essence, its hidden architecture, and its enduring reality. With this orientation set, we now move from shared human questioning to direct engagement with the heart itself. Leaving aside this introduction, let us turn directly to some of the objections most often raised in today's world. 1. Blindness of the heart. They say, God declares, "Have you not traveled through the earth to see the people who were given hearts by which they weigh matters and ears by which they listen? For the truth is this, it is not their eyes that are blind, but rather the core of devotion in their hearts within the breasts." Their objection is this: if you remove the heart from someone's breast, show us the eyes within it. If this is God's word, how can such imagery be acceptable? The Quran here speaks not of flesh, but of spirit, for the blindness of which it warns is not the loss of sight, but the eclipse of vision. Within the 6 subtle chambers of the heart lies the faculty of discernment, veiled from the scalpel, but unveiled to the seeker. This distinction between sensory sight and inward vision is not unique to any one tradition. It marks a universal divide between seeing and understanding. This truth, by God's grace, will be unfolded in later lessons. 2. The heart and wrongdoing. They object. The limbs commit actions, yet wrongdoing is attributed to the heart. His heart is guilty. How can the heart itself be guilty? They add, if wrongdoing is performed by the limbs, why is guilt attributed to the heart? What authority does the heart exercise over the limbs and faculties? In what manner does the heart itself commit wrongdoing? The hand strikes, the tongue lies, the eye wanders, but it is the heart that directs them. Thus, blame is laid upon the source, not the instrument, upon the throne of intention, not the passing act. The heart commits wrongdoing insofar as it consents, commands, and delights in the act, making the deed truly its own, even when enacted by the limbs. Here, responsibility is traced not to motion, but to inner governance, a principle recognized wherever moral accountability is taken seriously. This too shall be clarified as we journey deeper into the heart's directive role in shaping human accountability. 3. The sickness of the heart. They argue, the Quran says, in their hearts is a sickness. But, they say, the hearts of critics are not physically diseased. Some may even appear healthier than those of superficial followers of tradition. Yet, the sickness of which the Quran speaks is not of tissue or vein. It is the fever of greed, the cancer of envy, the paralysis of cowardice, the intoxication of lust, the endless hunger of ambition. These are the ailments that corrode the soul, while the body seems untouched. Revelation here speaks of what medicine cannot. It diagnoses disorders of orientation rather than disorders of flesh. An insight echoed wherever inner imbalance is acknowledged as a human problem. By God's grace, these matters will be unfolded before you for careful study and reflection along the path of this inquiry. 4. The heart and understanding. They claim human cognition and understanding arise from neural activity in the brain, shaped by sensory input through vision, hearing, smell, taste, and touch. How then can the Quran attribute comprehension to the heart when it says, "They have hearts with which they do not understand"? The Quran here unveils a truth concealed from strictly reductionist philosophy. Such schools confine intellect to the brain, but Revelation places the seat of true understanding in the heart. The heart is not a passive vessel, but the throne of perception, the sanctuary where meaning descends. Within its 19 inner chambers dwell the diverse faculties of knowledge, subtler than the senses, beyond the grasp of anatomy, piercing the veil of appearances and opening the human being ends to horizons where reason alone cannot reach. This does not deny empirical science, it situates it within a wider hierarchy of knowing. And as has already been emphasized, by God's grace, the kinds of knowledge and the 19 chambers of the heart will be explained in detail in the upcoming lessons. 5. God's nearness to the heart. They ask, if God is infinite and beyond comparison, how can the Quran say, "Know that God stands between a human being and their heart"? What does this mean when the heart is simply an organ that circulates blood? The verse is not physiology, but metaphysics. God interposes himself between the person and their innermost depth at the most intimate chamber of awareness and devotion. Thus, the Quran reminds us that no motion of the heart escapes his nearness. Here, transcendence and intimacy are not opposites, but companions. Its fuller explanation will be set forth in the upcoming pages. 6. Secrets of the heart. They raise the question, what secrets does the heart contain that the Quran so often speaks of them? For instance, if a chapter is revealed, it makes clear to them what lies within their hearts. The heart is the treasury of the unseen self. Within it lies the architecture of desire, fear, hope, and intention. What no eye can see, God unveils. What no tongue can confess, Revelation declares. Thus, the Quran names the heart as the mirror of what is most hidden, yet most decisive. 7. The heart's perception. And again, the Quran ascribes perception to the heart. The heart does not deny what it perceives. Such verses, they argue, are difficult to reconcile with the language of modern neuroscience. But here lies the error. Science measures the spark, while Revelation speaks of the flame. Neurons may register light, but it is the heart that knows whether it is dawn or illusion. One records sensation, the other recognizes meaning, a distinction acknowledged wherever experience exceeds measurement. Often such objections are raised not to pursue truth, but to sow doubt, unsettling those of fragile understanding and turning them from the path of guidance. Their purpose, in the end, is clear. By seizing upon uncertainty, such critics endeavor to divert seekers from the luminous highway of truth into the barren wilderness of confusion. In so doing, they employ refined strategies and subtle disguises. to erode conviction, dim the inner flame of devotion, and weaken the collective dignity of communities, especially those rooted in sacred heritage, whose legacy has long been a source of strength and orientation. Through these means, they seek to bend the world of spiritual traditions beneath modern forms of domination, cloaked not in the garb of armies, but in the veils of ideology, culture, and power. What has been addressed thus far are objections that arise wherever human beings struggle to reconcile inner experience with outer explanation. We have answered these challenges not by negation, but by resituating the heart within its proper order as an inward center of discernment, intention, and meaning. Yet, clarification alone is not sufficient. To defend the heart conceptually is one task, to understand it structurally is another. If the heart is indeed the axis of human awareness, as revelation insists and human experience confirms, then it must possess an inner architecture proportionate to its responsibilities. A center that governs perception, intention, devotion, and deviation cannot be simple, nor can it be singular in function. Thus, the inquiry must now move inward. Beyond refuting misunderstandings, we are compelled to unveil the heart itself, not metaphorically, but systematically, not sentimentally, but with disciplined insight. The question before us, therefore, becomes, what is the heart inwardly? How is it structured? Through what layers, tissues, and inner stations does it receive light, harbor conflict, and shape destiny? The lesson that follows does not speak to critics alone, but to seekers everywhere. It does not merely argue for the heart, it opens it. What was defended in principle will now be explored in reality. The heart will no longer appear only as a contested concept, but as a sanctuary with defined stations, forces, and inner laws. With this transition, we pass from shared human questioning into the chamber of unveiling. What has been spoken was not meant for the ear alone, but for the chambers, where understanding becomes presence. If something within you stirred, let it rest and unfold in its own time. This was The Heart by Muhammad Atollah Faizani. Until the next unveiling, remain attentive to what moves within.